This is a fairly common problem where you get a wire into the coronary sinus, but you can't get the sheath to track up over the wire. In this particular case, there was an LV lead that got pulled back, and because it was over 2 years old, we were forbidden to pull it out. I'm not sure it would have made much difference anyway. But you can see we engaged the coronary sinus and got into the middle cardiac vein. We actually went down the middle cardiac vein to look to see if there was any options down that way, but it didn't collateralize well to the main body of the CS. So what do you do when you get a glide wire up into the coronary sinus like this, but you can't advance the sheath? So here's the glide wire went up. It wasn't so hard to get the glide wire up, but there was a lot of resistance to trying to advance the sheath. And you can see we injected contrast, and it looked like it was completely occluded. So we gave it a push, still wouldn't go. So we'd like to get a short taper Amplatz extra stiff wire up into the coronary sinus to give us better support, but that obviously would not advance. So what do? Well, you take, to get the Amplatz wire in place, you track a 5 French angled braided catheter over the glide wire. And of course, the one I like is the vertebral vein selector, but it could be anything that's braided and has a similar angle on it. And then what that does is it goes through the Y adapter, through the braided core, over the glide wire. Okay, so this is advanced over through the hemostatic valve, and then you track that up over the glide wire as illustrated here. So we're tracking the vein selector over the glide wire, and we get that deep into the coronary sinus. And then once we get to that position, we take out the glide wire and then put in our short taper J-tip Amplatz wire. So now we have Amplatz wire and vein selector and braided core. So why do I make a fuss about the Amplatz short taper wire? Well, if you look at the short taper Amplatz wire, and you bend it, it bends after about 1 centimeter. Whereas if you look at a standard taper Amplatz wire, it bends way down here. So if we were using a standard taper Amplatz wire, we really wouldn't have any support from the Amplatz wire in the coronary sinus. So currently, Boston Scientific doesn't make one of these. The only one that has a short taper J-tip Amplatz wire is Cook. So now we have the combination of the vein selector, nice stiff Amplatz wire, and here's the braided core. And with that combination, we're able to advance the sheath over that into the coronary sinus, despite what looked like a total occlusion, without doing venoplasty. And you can see we've actually left the Amplatz wire in place for the rest of the procedure. If the short taper Amplatz wire combined with the braided catheter is not sufficient, you can consider subclavian venoplasty, because sometimes the problem is back at the shoulder, a jumbo sheath. If you get the Amplatz wire in, you can consider curving the dilator and putting that through the sheath and then advancing that over the Amplatz wire, or the anchor balloon techniques. These are all different ways of overcoming difficult coronary sinus anatomy. And then here's the equipment list for this type of procedure. I hope you find this helpful. I know it helps me.